diving straight into something I like to call the compass of financial contentment.
Okay, let's dive into this. There's a specific question I really want you to sit with for a second before I say anything else. Ready? Are you better off than you were this time last year? Most people actually can't answer that straight away, and that's kind of strange, isn't it? You would think the one single number, the one metric you'd know absolutely cold is your own personal progress. But we've been trained to answer a completely different question instead. We constantly ask, how do I stack up against everyone else right now? And honestly, that question is quietly wrecking how people feel about money.
I mean, not richer than your mate. Not richer than that bloke from high school who's, always posting from Bali. And definitely not richer than the couple next door with the shiny new deck and the brand new car. Just better off than you were 12 months ago. That is literally the only valid baseline. So let's call these two things exactly what they are. First, there's position, which is where you sit compared to other people at this exact moment in time. And then there's direction, which is where you sit compared to where you were before. These are two completely different measurements, and spoiler alert, only one of them actually tells you anything useful. Here is exactly why chasing position is a total mug's game. Position is relative to whoever you happen to be looking at, and you get to choose who that is, right? Well, actually, scratch that. You don't. Not really. The algorithm chooses for you. Open any app on your phone right now, and you are not seeing a fair sample of how people live. You are seeing the absolute best 5 seconds of someone's entire month, dressed up, lit perfectly, with every single boring, ordinary Tuesday cut right out of the footage. When you compare your actual life, the mortgage stress, the boring groceries, wearing the same jacket for 3 winters running, against someone else's curated highlight reel, you're going to lose that comparison every single time. And it's not because you're actually behind in life, it's because the contest was rigged before it even started.
And it's not just the social media apps doing this to us. It is deeply, fundamentally baked into how human beings are wired. Think about it. For most of history, your comparison set was pretty small. It was just the people on your physical street, the folks at work, maybe your extended family. You had a few dozen reference points, and most of those people were living roughly the same way you were. That comparison was narrow, sure, but it was honest. Well, that ceiling is completely gone now. Today, you are being compared every single day against literally millions of strangers online, and our brains were absolutely never built to filter that scale of data properly. It just absorbs all of this as normal and then quietly recalibrates what it means to be doing okay.
So position basically just keeps moving the goalposts on you. The algorithm actively chooses your competition to keep you engaged. It filters out all the normal, mundane stuff, and no matter what milestone you manage to achieve, there is always someone one rung higher on the ladder. Chase position, and you are chasing something that runs away from you by design. Now, direction doesn't work like that at all. Direction is just you at 2 points in time. Where was your retirement fund a year ago? And what's it at right now? Did you manage to chip away at the credit card, or did the balance grow? Is there anything sitting in savings today that wasn't there before? That's it. That is the whole measurement. No stranger required, no heavily filtered feed required. And here's the bit that is absolutely crucial. Direction is the only one of the two that you can actually control. You can't control what your old schoolmate earns. You can't control what gets posted online. But you can control whether, this year, you spent a bit less than you earned, put something away, and chipped at debt instead of adding to it. Direction reflects the real decisions you're actually making. Now here's where it gets super interesting, because this isn't just some fluffy mindset trick. There's real, hard psychology behind why direction feels so much better than position, even if the actual numbers are identical. Psychologists have this term for how quickly we get used to good news. They call it hedonic adaptation. Basically, it describes how a genuine improvement in your life stops registering as an improvement after a surprisingly short amount of time. Think about it. The pay rise that felt absolutely brilliant in March, it feels completely normal by June. Your brain just resets to the new baseline and totally stops crediting you for the climb. Which means chasing a bigger number just for the sake of the number doesn't buy lasting satisfaction. That satisfaction has a use-by date, and it's way shorter than most people expect. But direction completely sidesteps that trap. It's not asking, hey, does this number still feel exciting? It's asking, did I move the right way? And that's a question you can answer honestly, long after the initial thrill has totally worn off.
There's also this really famous bit of economic research that hits the nail on the head here. The Kahneman and Deaton study from back in 2010. Initially, it suggested that emotional well-being pretty much stopped improving past a certain income level. Now, later research kind of complicated that finding, and the full picture turned out to be a bit more layered. For most people, well-being does keep climbing as income goes up, but for a smaller group of people who are already doing it tough, it just flattens out, regardless of how much more money comes in. Put simply, for a good chunk of people, throwing more income at the problem doesn't automatically buy more peace of mind. Which tells us something really important. I mean, if income alone solved the anxiety, we'd expect people earning big bucks to feel totally settled, right? But plenty of them don't. Something else is causing the psychological damage. And that something is the constant, exhausting act of positioning yourself against everybody else.
So how do we actually fix this? I don't want to just leave you with theory today. I want to give you a bulletproof habit. So here is your 4-step system. Step 1. Do the inventory once. Just calculate everything you own minus everything you owe. Get one honest number, just to establish your starting line. Step 2. Pick a check-in date exactly 12 months from today and run the exact same math. Step 3. When you feel that inevitable pang of jealousy while scrolling online, because we all do, catch it and swap the question. Don't ask how you compare to them. Ask how you compare to the you from a year ago. And step 4, expect the movement to be slow. Seriously, we are looking for a gentle slope in the right direction here, not an overnight lottery win. I really want to leave you with a distinction that gets almost entirely ignored when we talk about wealth. Ready for this? Feeling broke and actually being broke are two massively separate problems, and they require totally separate fixes. Being broke is a physical math problem. It's strictly about income minus expenses. But feeling broke? That is an information problem. It's totally psychological, and it is solved by focusing on the right information, namely your own trajectory, rather than someone else's highlight reel. Honestly, so many people spend decades throwing a math solution at an information problem, and then they wonder why the anxious voice in their head never ever goes away. See, that voice, it was never really about the number in the bank. It was always about the comparison. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought for the week. The next time you open up your banking app and instantly assume the worst, just stop for a second and ask yourself, are you checking your balance just to see your position, or are you checking your direction? Start measuring the latter. It is a much fairer judge, and I promise you it's the only metric that is actually on your side. Keep tracking your direction, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.